Alright, now I'm gonna drop a little track. Now I'm keeping with the same sort of vein as what Pete and Alti did. This track is pretty much a testimony. Some of you have heard it before. I actually wrote it because I was actually quite upset with the whole thing within hip hop of dudes talking about being gangsters and they're not, you know what I mean? Like, you know, Izzy was a postman, but he ended up, you know, acting like... Was he a postman? He was a postie, you know what I mean? And I don't know, so what I wanted to do was actually talk a bit of truth in hip hop, but this is actually a testimony. And so some of it is a bit, you know, I wasn't raised in the church, so yeah, we just did it. It's basically 3 verses, 3 different people that influenced me in my Christianity and becoming a Christian, and I'll explain a little bit after it as well.
They say the truth is strange and vision, so let the truth be known. That's why I people with conviction when I'm switching on the microphone. I grip realities and flip mentalities, spin mechanically, emphatically, we hit erratically.
You raise the freckles like a brother. I had one in the school when I moved into the city when the street makes you cool. You didn't even know me. They came to save my skin, surrounded by a gang of dudes who meant to do me in. These husbands have my back, which is out to interrupt. I speak and get from out of town, you can get on the block. Even though you were lost, I was at a backstep now. Until you know what you know within the underground. I wonder how we made the link, we seem to hit it off. We had a common enemy, we bombing in the cops. We bombing it a lot, and we had a bit to drink. Stole some individuals and killed them with the ink. Stole the void and merchandise and toys devoid of teeth. The boys behaving just getting heavier each week. We came to meet a preacher who understood the game. Said we were destined for destruction if we didn't change our ways. He kept the day when my life began believing. I popped it off the lady because the devil was deceiving me. And easily I couldn't bring the corpse within the wall. In and out, I could have died because I was trying to steal the Lord. I know the lost my brother instigated action. That's why I see me rapping out with passion for destruction. What my brothers are, I wonder why he went like into business. Doing crime and running robbers in the course. But I've been eating the blues of my compadre. Fuck me, the toughest work is doing it hard. Working a hard day's night, but I can see the morning coming. The lights in the horizon, so my brother keep on running.
They say the truth is strange and fiction, so let the truth be known. That's why people with conviction when I'm switching on the microphone. I grip realities, spin mentalities, spin mechanically, emphatically, and hit erratically.
I met a guy from overseas who was working in the streets with graffiti kids and thieves, and he helped me do a legal piece. I wasn't evil, please, I had a bit of virtue. Although my crew was known for my good punch and maybe hurt you. Stepping up, we had a rep, had to represent the kid graffiti and regardless. The hardest of the get to where we wanted to, us all about permission, so we listened. Told us about the lost who were living in a prison. Given the permission, I accepted the grace. While my neighbor redirected to a decadent place. Respected his fate, he inspected his fate. I checked into detention for the rest of his days. Arrested the state as a guest of the state for the murder of a person in a personal way. Because previously he had taken a life, then buried all the evidence committed to Christ. For living the lie while carrying guilt had taken its toll. So he chose to commit his fate to the courts. And pause for the time that they determined for murder, perpetrating the crime. Serving a while, he was walking the walk. Showed character to amateurs who's talking the talk. All of us thought his integrity great, and now it's speaking to the people, so we eagerly wait for the day we break, loose free from the chains, and give praise to the Creator. He's the Ancient of Days, the Savior who came to take all of our sins, so we could live around eternity committed to Him.
They say the truth is strange and fiction, so let the truth be known. That's why people with conviction when I'm switching on the microphone. I grip realities, spin mechanically, emphatically, and hit erratically.
They say the truth is strange and fiction, so let the truth be known. That's why people with conviction when I'm switching on the microphone.
I grip realities, spin mentalities, spin mechanically, emphatically, and hit erratically.
I knew this guy back from the longest. Before we became brothers or breakers, we were taking shots and rapping, to be honest. A lot of people thought he would amount to maybe nothing. He didn't give us nothing back, he acted like a gutting implement. Cut down people who were in his line of fire. The tongue is sharp as razor wire, made to uninspire. If the attitude is catered, so we painted it on hounds. Invaded with the vandals, so his name was in the house. But babies only flee when competing in the street. And drugs became a wonder with the people that he beat. He did a little trading into merchandise and stuff. Not anticipating that the things would get rough. He had the jet from Sydney with some bodies on his tail. He sold his face and bad product, ended up in jail. His family was speaking, but all was speaking still. The voices in the wilderness is stillness. And when it's free and open, if you're open to the gift of God is given. He took it on the chin and after coming to the living. The Savior keeps us saving, behavior daily changing. And slavery enabled him to make it more related to the people on the hour. So he started up a mission, shouting out loud for the crowd to come and listen. His family was proud to see how far they had come, especially his brother and his father and mom. The prodigal son, the family was restored. because of the compassion that they saw in the Lord. So don't ever quit because God's still around, still seeking out the people who will agree to be found. They say the truth is strange in the fiction, so let the truth be known. That's why I flip it with conviction when I'm switching on the microphone. I grip realities, mentalities, mechanically erratic. They say the truth is strange in the fiction, so let the truth be known. That's why I flip it with conviction when I'm switching on the microphone. I grip reality, flip mentalities, flip mechanically, emphatically, they hit erratically.
Mechanically, emphatically, they hit erratically.
Do you guys mind if I just explain a little bit about that track and what it's all about?
Please do. Please do.
Alright, I'll start with verse 2. Verse 2 is about a friend of mine. He came to Australia from overseas. He was working, he was a Christian guy, he had a passion to work with people involved in gangs and criminals and graffiti artists in particular. At that time I was involved in the street gangs in Newtown. He came and he witnessed to me and was one of the guys that actually led me to the Lord indirectly. And then it turned out that we didn't know, but he'd actually murdered a guy and buried the guy in the cellar of a house in London. And over time, a few years later, someone actually said to him, listen, I believe that God's dealing with something in your life and you've got some unconfessed sin. And he goes, well, yeah, actually, I killed a guy. And so he ended up going back to England, confessing to the crime. They had to dig the body up. He ended up getting a life sentence. But he did that as a Christian and served his sentence. You know, he did, I think, 8-9 years or something like that. The second verse is about a dude, you know, that in growing up, everyone said you never amount to anything, you're a loser, you're never going to go well. And he ended up, you know, doing crime, gangs, you know, taking drugs, selling drugs, the whole bit. And then ended up becoming a Christian. That dude's my brother. That dude's actually the pastor of the church that meets here. And Chris and I know, because we were there during that whole time, you know, how things have changed quite substantially. The first verse is about a guy, and I wrote this track a while ago, but anyway, in the gang scene, he was like the heavy dude, you know what I mean? I mean, that's saying something because you're a gang already, you know what I mean? But anyway, he was the heavy dude in the gang. Ended up that we ended up getting blackmailed into going to church, and when they had the prayer for salvation and all that sort of stuff, I was like, nah, not for me. But I felt God speaking to me, but I just ignored it. And my friend went out, got prayed for, and you know, received the Lord and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, it spun me out. And during that week, I almost got killed like half a dozen times. And so later on, I ended up becoming a Christian. That said, my friend ended up falling away and ended up becoming quite an underworld figure in King's Cross, running brothels, importing drugs, you name it. Ended up having to be on the run, federal police looking for him, ASIO, had to move overseas. Just recently he came back to Australia because his father had died. And through some crazy, miraculous stuff. If you want, ask me after and I'll explain the specifics of it. God spoke to him. So it's amazing how God's faithful and God doesn't give up on you even if you give up on yourself. There you go.